Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. And today, well, we'll be talking all matters Easter Cup and Juvenile Classic. Although we have decided to title it today Talking All Things Pat Buckley and his team, because it was an incredible weekend for the Capawhite-based handler Tommy. After Friday night, you were thinking, it might just be his weekend. And by all accounts, Sing-Along Sally and knocked the Bull Sid. Well, they never saw a rival. A brilliant night on Saturday, of course, for the Buckley team, but also an incredible night on Friday in the Juvenile Classic. Weekends, as they say, don't come much better than this.
No, it couldn't have been any better. Sing-Along Sally just did everything right, it was like a replay for knock the Bull Sid. But like we've come to expect it of him, and he might just have found a lady that can do the same thing. She just flew out. She had two good early paces on her inside, and she left them both for dead. Now, you can say what you like, and maybe they missed it slightly or whatever, but still an impressive display, wasn't it?
Yeah, mighty impressive. Barry, I'm sure you were impressed. I'm sure you were going back to their form lines to see if there's any trials in y'all or anything, were there?
No. Well, dear Jet Sydney rounded off, I suppose, a perfect weekend. But look, the way they came out of the traps, all three grounds over the course of the weekend, talk about priming them for the big night. They were just amazing performances, really. And, the two big races, they were over after a matter of strides. Like, they absolutely bolted from traps. Like, they just did it so well. And I'm sure it's a weekend that the Buckley Kennel will be talking about for a long time. So, unbelievable. And what a weekend of greyhound racing it was.
Yeah, it certainly was an incredible weekend of greyhound racing. We'll kick off with Shelburne Park on Saturday night. Tommy, it was a strange night. You were there. You weren't there. You were watching from home. It was wet. It was windy. It was pretty miserable. But by all accounts, the action on the track was red hot from start to finish. The feature was, of course, the final of the Easter Cup. But there were some brilliant performances throughout the night.
I have a bit of a theory about the Easter Cup, and which is probably going to be wrong. But
no, we fully expect it to be wrong. Go on anyway.
Yeah, but like you went from race 6 for Deadly Destroyer to 28-32, which was a serious run that might get a little bit underestimated and lost in the whole lot. That was a brilliant run, beating Romeo on Fire, and that was definitely Deadly Destroyer back to his best. But 15 minutes later, you have a race that's rated 50 slow. 15 minutes later, I get this feeling that I know when you were talking the other night to the lads on RPG TV that you were saying that there's a bit of a delay because they were running the track around. I get a feeling that along the inside, there was a lot of surface water and it was a bit harder in the straight. And I know Knock the Bull Sid is in the wide seat and he did come across the track. And I just got a feeling you might just not have been able to brake, or it might have taken a lot out of you to go to the bend along the inside for a couple of races. Maybe not every race, but just when the real downpours came, and that the likes of, like, really and truly, should Billy's Diva or Waiting in that be passed by anything? I know Beach Avenue is a seriously fast dog, but Billy's Diva lost ground coming around the second bend like she doesn't do down the back straight as well. Now, by this stage, Knock the Bull Sid had probably moved in enough. You know what I mean? That at this stage, he was almost an inside runner, but he got his advantage wherever he always does. I'm taking nothing from him because it was just a brilliant display. It was just perfect display. He the likelihood he'd have won regardless, right? So let's not take anything from Knock the Bull Sid, but I was a little bit disappointed with Billy's Diva because the way she lost ground, which I don't think she should do. But I think there was a disadvantage definitely being on the inside there for about half an hour, 3 quarters of an hour on Saturday night. The rain must have come down. It must have been torrential, was it?
There was a period between one of the races where it was fine. The wind seems to have dropped, and I was head down typing away in a report or doing something or other, and the next minute I just heard this unmerciful sort of clatter. It was just water everywhere. It was just rain coming down in buckets, and the track went from being sort of okay, it was wet at that point to being soaked.
That's right.
In fairness to the track staff, they came out and they did a good walk around. They took a look around as the plating was going on, and by the time the actual race had come, the next race had come, the rain had stopped and they had given it a good plating, and it seemed to be grand. I don't fully subscribe to what you're saying, but I do to a part. I actually think it was worse in the middle rather than the inside. I think it was sort of sloppier, sort of lane 3. And that's exactly where Billy's Diva was. And if you look where she lost her ground in the actual final, it's when she checked off the opening corner slightly to the middle that all of a sudden Knock the Bull Sid got those 2 or 3 lengths because he's hugging the fence. And I feel maybe it was probably sloppier in the middle. It was actually something Pat Buckley said to me yesterday on the phone. He said up the home straight, he drifted off into the middle and you could see him nearly sort of get stuck a bit in it. It was just one of those nights where the weather, Shelburne Park is a great track for handling bad weather. But when it comes in just an absolute 5-minute spell like that, and it just completely doused the place, it did take a while for it to sort of even itself out and sort itself out, and that's where the plating and whatnot came into play. Barry, your view on the final? You enjoyed it obviously enough, knocking the Bull Sid, of course, a Cork bed greyhound, Ty Kelly down there. He was very impressive, but as we said, perhaps there was slower patches on the track, but by all accounts, Knock the Bull Sid did everything right from out in 6. It was a pretty paw perfect display.
Yeah, that really sums it up. It was incredible, really. Over the last couple of months since he started off below in the Kingdom Derby, in the first couple of rounds, and I was expecting him to be trapping well after what I had seen in previous times, but he just wasn't trapping in the opening rounds, and got to the final and came out in 2:98 sectionally, produced his quickest start in the event in that final, and ever since then he's turned into what a professional. Like, he's just fought the since, and once again on Saturday night he produced a flying sectional, one of his quickest sectionals once again in the event, 3:39 sectional to win the event. So he was certainly a very, very worthy winner. There was much of the talk prior to the event, would he get away with the trap number 6, but it was over after a couple of strides, and as I said, a most deserving winner.
Yeah, I put it in print, Tommy. I think it was the day of the race, or maybe the previous day. I said that if there was going to be traffic, it was going to be on the inside. As it was, there was no real traffic for the big guns, but the more I looked at the draw, the better it became.
Yeah, probably fair enough. But the only thing about a bad draw like that with a dog like Knock the Bull Sid is that he's just such a brilliant trapper, professional trapper, that he can overcome it. Like, so, I mean, the entire credit for the win on Saturday night is down to the dog himself and Pat Buckley's handling of him and the Buckley family. That he just keep him in that sort of form that he can ping out, because his early pace again just won the race. It's brilliant. No matter what I say about the ground, and when I was saying inside me, I didn't mean right in on the rails. I thought I'd be one of these people
on his inner is what you're meant.
Yeah. But what I would say about these plates is they're probably too wide, because if you watch them when you're doing it, you often think that the natural gradient of the track, they're missing little bits. That's not the people's fault involved, to say, but the actual things are quite wide, and I tend to think that they're flat surfaces, and there'll be a slight ridge. It's just natural. It's going to happen. There'll be a slight ridge, and if it sits on that, it's going to miss a part. But I just think that's what can happen with it. Anyway, maybe you can split the plates or into 3 or something, that they can move slightly or whatever. But anyway, maybe that's not a great idea, but I just think it's something that does happen. But I just want to go back to Knock the Bull Sid. It's pure professionalism. That's what it is. Yeah, there were a couple of slow starters directly inside him, which was a bit of a help, and dogs that probably didn't want to be that far out either. So it wasn't a horrific draw, and yet at the same time, even when Pat Buckley was being interviewed on Saturday night before the race, he was saying that, yeah, he'd prefer to be in the middle than out in 6. It did look difficult, but just that professional trapping that the dog has, and to keep him at that peak and to have him perfectly set for the night, I'm taking nothing away from him. For all the opinions I have about the race itself, take nothing away from him. He's just a joy to watch.
I'll put it to you, Barry, that perhaps it wasn't keeping him at a peak, but bringing him to a peak, because Saturday night's display, for my mind, was certainly the best of his career. He had been brilliant in the semi-finals, but on this occasion in the final, doing 3:39, and that's including diving inwards in the opening yard. So perhaps losing another maybe 2-3 spots on that, flashing into the corner. He pulled cleared on the back straight, and he ran all the way to the winning line. Pat Buckley suggested yesterday to me that he said when he first got his hands on the dog, he was sort of 72 pounds. He's now 79 pounds. And he says, if you look at the dog, he says, he just looks like a bodybuilder. He says, he's just pure muscle. He's really filled his frame out. And just one of those dogs that, every time I seem to bring him to the track, he just seems to develop that little bit more. He's just one of those freakish type greyhounds. Are we nearly doing him a disservice by just saying he's professional? He's probably a lot more than that nowadays.
Oh, without a doubt. And, he's at the prime of his career now, and it could be a big year going forward, because he looks like he's going to be a major player for all the big competitions ahead this year. It could be a bit more to come even. It was just what a fabulous run as well from the runner-up Beach Avenue. Take nothing away from him either. He ran an absolute cracker in the feet. He had ran well in all the rounds previous, kind of finishing third on a couple of occasions, but to finish second in the final, and finishing ahead of the likes of Billy Steve, and great name that, what a performance. And Paul Hennessy, another man that's kept that greyhound in tremendous form over the last couple of months. He ran well in the Laurels below in Shelburne Park at the back end of last year, was unlucky to get knocked out in the semi-final after finding plenty of trouble at the opening corner. So he's another talented greyhound, and I'm sure we'll see him maybe over a slightly further distance as well going forward. But that was another success story on the night for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Tommy, knock the Bull Sid, if you had him, I assume Toaster and back to Shelburne for the Irish Derby would be the two main targets.
Yeah, quite straightforward. He is professionally going back to 341, 340, 344, 339. It's all pretty much the same thing. Yeah, he's just ultra reliable. That's what he is. He's at that break. He'll have tougher tests. It looked like a really good Easter Cup final, but it didn't turn out to be a really competitive final. Once he got around that bend, the dogs lost ground in behind him for whatever reason. It wasn't wildly competitive, but I loved his pace down the back as well as everything else. I thought he extended it exceptionally well. He'll have to do that going to Toaster, and he'll have to do that. He'll. It's a long way to the Derby. He's not my ideal winner of the Derby at this stage. It's a long way to the Derby. Things will change. A lot of dogs will come through. I think we have enough talent in the country that a lot of seriously good dogs are coming through to that point. So,
Pat Buckley himself is about 4.
Yeah, well, exactly.
They can take him on, and then you bring in the likes of Graham Hall and Liam Dowling. Owen McKenna's a few nice pups come through. There's real talent around, as you say.
Yeah, there'll be no panic to back him for the Derby. You'll have plenty of time to do that. He's not going to be going off 6-7 to 1 before the first round. He's just not. There's plenty of talent going to come through. For now, I'd be making hay. Yeah, I'd be going to Toaster. He ran, as you talked about a number of times, and I have too. We chatted about ourselves before this, and he caught us by surprise last year, and he's just in fairness, he's grown up. You know what I mean, to turn into this what I call professional, what you don't like.
I do like I do like it, but I think you can describe but you describe it an A5 greyhound as professional, but he's a lot more than that. Do you know what I mean? He's a real I think he's a far stronger greyhound than he was last year. What he did the other night, galloping up the home straight. The previous night, Billy's Diva gets an absolute solo, does 29.50 on the bunny. He does 29.50 3 moments later. It's just he's showing that he's very, very strong in himself now as well.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to run him down in any way, shape, or form because he's a seriously good greyhound. But I think there's tougher tests ahead.
Yeah. No, there's no question. Toaster is going to be a severe test for him. It's going to be a severe test for most greyhounds. It's going to be a very much a competition where the dogs to take to the track and get their trapping boots right will be thereabouts. Barry, you alluded to Beach Avenue in second spot. We'll mention the remaining runners at present. Golden Tiger missed the kick, got knocked over on the opening bend. Thankfully got up and galloped on strongly into the escape. So by all accounts, everything seems right with him, Golden Tiger. He might be a bit shook up now on Monday morning, but he'll be fine. Beach Avenue. Barry's already said, Tommy, how well he had run in Curraheen down in the Laurels over probably one of the sharpest 5.25s in the country. He had won the 5.75 at Curraheen Park, the Open 5.75 last month. He's won over 750 yards in top company. Here he is running down the likes of Billy's Diva and great name that in the final of the Ladbrokes Easter Cup to finish second. An incredible display. Obviously, Billy's Diva did swing off the last bend and herself, and great name that bumped, and they were right in the middle of the track where it was probably softest. Beach Avenue came high, wide and handsome, but there's no question it was an absolutely stunning run in defeat. Like on the bend, he's right on the shoulder of Knock the Bull Sid. This is a greyhound that I dare say is in the absolute form of his life. You could run him over any distance, over any track, and he'd probably go very close. Yeah,
like his run the semi-final, where he came from a remarkable position to qualify. I think he knocked out. Did he knock out New In Session by getting up on the line? Like that run caught my eye massively. Like I didn't think he was going to win at the final or anything like that. Like, but just the pace he had to do that. I said it already. I was a bit disappointed with Billy's Diva that she didn't kind of, even great in that they should probably be finishing second and third where they were positioned in that area. And Billy's Diva didn't get enough trouble to be making excuses for her. We said what we said about the ground, But Beach Avenue is just absolutely power packed, and Paul has his dogs in superb form. I tell you, he can train horses as well as dogs. He might be looking for the lads in the racing fraternity. He doesn't have too many horses, because he could be the Willie Mullins now dominating Shelburne for the week.
I was going to say, the way things are at the moment, this fella could turn up anywhere. Like, he literally could turn up in Cheltenham on Wednesday and run on strongly in a place in the Coral Cup or something, along with heaven help us. Barry, Beach Avenue, where would you go with him if you owned him?
It's hard to know. I'm sure he'll have plenty of opportunities anyway. He can run over any distance, it seems. And look, I hope two people might have got a few pennies out of the race. I think it was about 50 to 1, was he, in a place early on in the morning.
That was a derisory price. Like, that was completely insult to the dog and his ability. Beach Avenue, he I suppose that probably with the Open 600 coming up, you'd probably throw him into that. But funnily enough, he might get a little bit further behind stronger running greyhounds. It'd be interesting to see how he runs. He took okay to the 575 in Shelburne Park, of course. Yeah,
he sure did. He posted a really smart time down there when winning. So look, he's going to have loads of options going forward. And just going back to Paul Hennessy, I suppose we better give him a shout out ahead of the big race in Cheltenham this week. With a horse or a mare that done me a few favours last time at fancy prices, and shout out to the jockey as well, Richie Condon, who's over in Cheltenham at the moment. He was eating a fine steak last night in the hotel, and he's a big greyhound man, and I'm sure he'll be tuned into this as well. So best of luck to him.
Indeed, by all accounts, it'll be a very much a greyhound sort of backed horse. Heaven help us, with Johnny Turner, the owner, of course, the JT man, and Martin Lanny, his right hand man, his hugging partner in Leopardstown at Christmas. So we wish them the very best of luck on Wednesday in the Coral Cup. She is stepping up in trip, but as Paul said, anytime he's ever seen her at the end of a race or a gallop, he said she just doesn't seem to be taking a breath. So he has no fears in the distance stakes. Looking behind then, Billy's Diva, great name that. Billy's Diva will obviously, all going well, if she comes out of this race well and good, she'll be aimed at Limerick, you'd imagine, Tommy.
Yeah. What I was encouraged about the other night was that she was only slightly more than 3 parts of a length behind Not the Bull Sid at the bend. I definitely think she's either matured and got that little bit of early pace that she didn't have, or she's become more reliable at traps, or it's just a 550-yard trap. And there's 3 different options. I'm not sure which is the right one, but they've all maybe come together to turn her into a bitch that's going to be able to compete. I mean, if you're going to give 3 or 4 lengths, you'll see what happens with the likes of Beach Avenue. If you're going to give a few lengths early, you're just not going to claw back in the level of company we have. And the fact that the 550 doesn't take as much staying anymore. I think Billy's Diva is going to have to turn close regularly. I think now she's proven to us that she's capable of it. As I say, I was slightly disappointed in one way, but in another way, I don't think I'm going to detract anything from her. I still think she's a superstar. I still think there's going to be big competition to be won with her. That competition in Limerick is always red hot as well.
And it's going to be even hotter this year. I think this is the hottest of all time.
I'd be intrigued to see it. It's probably quite a lot of racing. Quite a lot of racing for her to be going through that for a number of rounds. And you only get a week. I think you only get a week of a break unless you want to trial below. Is that right? When you start?
It starts the 27th, so it's a fortnight after the final. So if they want to give her a spin, maybe take it easy with it. And apart from that, she is a very strong running lady. Probably won't take an awful lot out of her. The fear is that she was running through the worst of the ground the other night and might have just taken a little bit more out of it.
A little bit of an edge, a little bit of an edge off her maybe. But I'm not taking that away from her. No, she still showed enough to tell me that she's going to be a star.
Yeah, great name that, Barry. He's November 18, so his options are relatively limited for the immediate future. Liam Dowling has won the Open 600, the former Guinness 600 with Ballymacmat, and gone on to win a Derby. You'd imagine that's probably the road he'll go down with. Great name that.
Yeah, most definitely, I'd say, Ian. And as you said, look, he's another very, very talented greyhound, very strong greyhound. So he'll be ideally suited, I think, to that 600-yard event as well. And I suppose, Billy's Diva, and great name that. It was definitely kind of a funny race in behind on Saturday night, but look, tough conditions. I'm sure we'll see them back to their very best in the coming weeks. And just going back to Billy's Diva, like, that is a remarkable lady. And the Kennedys have come down to Youghal in recent times. They had a smart winner there last week, and I think they're 3 from 3 or 4 from 4 now in pups races down in Youghal. So they're making an impression down here as well, coming down winning our unraced races. But fair play to them.
Sure, anyone could arrive down at Youghal in a race, couldn't they, Barry?
It takes a good dog to win around there.
I'll tell you what, there was one greyhound on Saturday night that came up from Youghal, and he may have suffered defeat, but it was one of the most impressive Shelburne debuts I've seen in quite some time. Skylight Blake, lads, you're more than familiar with him. This dog has unbelievable early speed. What he did to his rivals in the third race was pretty unbelievable to the third bend. He did fall into a bit of a hole. At that stage, it was down to conditions. It was wet. It was very windy still at that point of the evening, but it was a really eye-catching run in defeat. You must have been both proud to see him doing so well. Unfortunately, he didn't hold on for Nick Walsh in the Skylight Syndicate.
Yeah, he was nicely placed to win it.
Drive on,
Tom. Go ahead, lads.
I was saying he was nicely placed to win an S3, S4 there back in October. He's I know when you're running sprints and running 5-2-5, it can be very different things. Like, but geez, the pace he showed was phenomenal. There was money for him in the morning. Actually, I was kind of noting that, and then he drifted like a barge on Saturday night. It was good company, and there was a bit of trouble in behind, but by God, he showed phenomenal pace to the third bend. Like, it was ridiculous stuff.
He did sub 16, which, okay, yeah, plenty of dogs have done it, but not in those conditions.
Yeah. He's a dog you would imagine. I think, like, he's been run over for over 325, 350. That the 400 would suit him. I presume they're going to go that direction. I don't know. I haven't talked to the watchers, but I presume that's the direction they go with him. He's got serious pace.
Barry, they're sort of in a position now where they probably have to move him away from Youghal a little bit. Getting races isn't going to be the easiest thing. Dundalk, Cork later in the year for a Laurels Challenge. I suppose that'd have to be on their mind.
Yeah, look, I know there was plenty of interest within the dog, but the dog wasn't for sale. He's owned by 2 owners who were getting an unbelievable kick out of the dog. The success, they were about 8 foot tall after he posted. I think it was about 28.71 on the clock in Youghal there recently. One of the quickest runs we've seen for quite some time. He done 15.44 to the third corner. That will never, ever, ever be broken in Youghal. But look, I'd have
until it's broken.
Yeah, no one has got close, and I don't think we'll see a dog, break that. But I'd have big question marks with him over the 5-2-5. I think he'd be ideally suited to a lot less than that. So he'll find it tough. You won't get away with it in Shelburne Park with maybe a Ballymac dog coming behind you or one of Buckley's when you're not getting the trip. You're treading water there from the final corner. But he's got unbelievable early pace, and I'm sure he'll be winning plenty of more.
The dog that actually picked him up the other night was Deanridge Rapid, a dog who had run in Dundalk actually last year as Ballymac No Tis Me. He was sold across the water. It didn't quite happen for him. He's back now. Rosemary Price is looking after him for Ray Dean and Paul Surge. Good to see him getting a win on the card for his owners that do buy plenty of greyhounds out of Ireland. Just looking through the remainder of the supporting card, we'll get to one or two of the better races in a moment or two. Just a couple of old pals winning. Monbeg Zinzan got up to win the opening race. We know so much about him. He's a really nice dog. Probably stay further in time. You imagine he's going for the Open 600. Gord Kelly Nestor, a dog who'd won the big A1 competition at Kilkenny last year. Very impressive in the final of the Bull Run Bolt at Stud Open 525. We spoke of Deanridge Rapid. The fourth race on the card was the final of the Shelburne A1 575, and Robert Gleeson got a good tune out of Drubby's Wyatt. He's a greyhound that could run well in the Open 600, Tommy.
Yeah, he did actually. He picked them up well. I think you were fancying Sizzler maybe in that race. Barry probably was too.
No. The winner is owned in Youghal. That was the other Sizzler's owned in Gary Voss, so I had to go for Youghal.
Just goes to show the strength of the form down there. We'll move on. The fifth race on the card.
Yeah, Sizzler moved right anyway and got a bit of a bump, and he kind of. But Drew's Wyatt is a fair dog, though. He picked him up fairly impressively, didn't he?
He's a pacey individual. He's just he's probably suffered because of the company he's been in. He probably hasn't won as many as he should, but by all accounts, if he keeps producing that sort of run, he'll be winning plenty. Certainly over those types of trips, the 575, 600-yard distances seem really suited to him. Brody's Magic Lads was, he probably gave those that don't know the dog a bit of heart failure in the first 5 strides, but I was never really worried. Were you?
No, not at all. He actually was. he was deeply impressive in the 10 or 15 yards into the first bend. He just quickened to take the gap, and after that it was all over. You're not going to do an awful lot more than 1862. Like, you might get 2-3 lengths out of it, maybe at a push. Like, but that's a serious. Like, the dog has been around a while. It's a huge performance, really.
Yeah, big run by Galti Extra actually in the feet. He thought
that was a nice performance. Yeah.
Olympic Dollar did what he always does. He absolutely hammers to the opening corner. Probably doesn't have as much home as some of the likes of these sprinters, but he did have his day in the sun, the Fair Warrior. The Kirby Trial Stake, Tommy, you referenced it earlier on. Deadly Destroyer, most impressive. Barry, you spoke to Carl Ramsbottom. You know, a really likable fella. He can also do a greyhound, and this Deadly Destroyer, you can see him after his Hennerty unraced win, which was at the time maybe a little bit of a surprise because the cash out dog was a hot favorite, but he sort of developed and really sort of grown up a little bit in the last few weeks. But the other night was pretty emphatic. It was the sort of run that if he kept producing that type of a start, you could see him going well in a Kirby.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think it was the Dennis Linehan Solicitors on race day. He won below in Curry. Yeah, that was a great final. As you said, Ballymac Cashel was in second, and Romeo and Fire Dog was actually in that final as well. He finished fifth. I think he made an early exit in a recent competition. Was he in the Easter Cup as well? I think he went
Gold Cup.
Yeah. Look, he's a very, very talented greyhound, and it was great to see him back to winning form, and he'd be one of the leading fancies, I think, going forward for the Kirby. And great to see Carl Ramsbottom with such a good dog. And in fairness, he's got a nice kennel at the moment, some really fast starting greyhounds, and he'll be winning a big competition this year.
Tommy, Deadly Destroyer, you were really taken by him.
I was, yeah, because I think on the night there weren't too many of that type of run. I think the clock was particularly fast. The sections, I think I mentioned it last week. I don't think you can do your 199s at the moment. It's just not, whatever the way the track is at the moment, you can't do them. I think 211 is close enough to a red hot sectional. He did do a 329 below in Cork. That'll tell you what he's capable of. That equates to about a 198 kind of in Shelburne. So this was nice to see. He had given a hint of it the previous week, and this was nice to see that he was just back to what he had promised. Now, he's still very, very lightly raced. There's nothing to say where his ability is going to stop. Like, he can improve plenty from this.
Yeah. Chasing Belfast won the 7th race. He's a nice type of Graham Holland. He's probably not in the top 10 or 12 in his kennel, but he's winning an open class race, really good open class race on Saturday night in Shelburne Park. Just goes to show the kennel strength. Really nice dog that for the Hovix Racing Syndicate, running well at present. Then we had the aforementioned Dearjet Sydney, the English Derby champion, lads. It was great to see him getting back to winning ways. Okay, he's only had the one race this year. He'd only had the one start prior to this since the English Derby decider. But the other night, it was just like old times. He flashed out straight to the rails, 30.09. He goes one spot slower than knocked the Bull Sid. You know, Pat Buckley has a nice team. And by all accounts, this was a real toaster display. Dearjet Sydney fast away, got on the fence and pass me if you can. And as hard as New In Session could, he couldn't get to him. Epic Hero absolutely hammered the rail in the opening corner. He was fine. He gave Ballymac Wild an awful shunt, who came from out of the clouds to finish third. That was an incredible display in defeat. He's probably a dog that's really coming back into himself. But Dearjet Sydney, lads, Tommy, you'd like to be bringing him to Toaster.
Yeah, I think Toaster is your all, is
it? In what sense?
You're mad for talking about it.
No, I'm mad for talking about the English Derby and, getting another one in the bag. It'd be lovely to do that.
You looking for the job over there or something?
No, it's just because it's their natural targets, I suppose.
Yeah.
As you just see.
Sorry for making you uncomfortable there, Ian.
I can't get there this year. Bloody jab. Anyway,
anyway. It was great. It was great to see him back. He flew out and because New In Session didn't fly out, or maybe because Dearjet City was just too fast, he was able to get the rails quite easily. New In Session ran quite well in defeat, but I actually had to look twice to see what was this dog in third place. The way it was finishing, it was Ballymac Wild, that dog that could break my heart. I didn't back him the other night, thank God, because it would have been just it would have been just further pain. But Dearjet Sydney was just A1 start to finish. What are you making New In Session in?
I was actually encouraged tonight. I thought it was a good run. I think Graham Holland was pretty bullish about him. I think we, like, if you look back at the semi-finals of the Easter Cup and Beach Avenue picking him up, we were disappointed. Do you know what? That form isn't looking so bad right now. He did get badly done in the Easter Cup semi-final. So, listen, I'm not going to rule him out for any competition because we know exactly how talented he is. It was a fine run the other night in defeat.
Toaster?
I'm not sure if he's a toaster dog now, to be honest. I think I'd put all my eggs in the basket and just get him absolutely 100% prime for Shelburne Park in August. I think have one good go at the Derby.
Champion Stakes, maybe.
Well, yeah, you know yourself. That's
two run
natural step.
Two run competition.
Yeah,
more
absolutely.
Suitable?
Yeah, probably more suitable. Would you keep him as an inside seed?
That's a good question, actually. I didn't like him in Trap 1 night.
No.
I don't know. I'd be tempted to put him in the middle. I'd like to know the breakdown of middles, wides before I put him as a middle, but I think he's probably a better dog for 3 or 4. Now, obviously, with a middle, you probably get 5 and 6 most nights, but I still think he can handle it, and he probably have a little bit more room to himself out there.
He's slightly frustrating. I mean, and that's I know connections would kill me for saying that, but slightly frustrating because the dog that picked up knocking the Bull Sid and made him look to second rate in an early round of the Easter Cup, you know, and then to go out, it's just disappointing. Like when you see what he did when he turned the bend behind knocking the Bull Sid, and we can argue that knocking the Bull Sid was, you say he was peaked for the final. He when he got to a little bit of trouble and just switched around him and was gone. That was deeply impressive. I thought he had literally and figuratively turned the corner that night. Yeah. And we were going to see the real deal. Maybe, that'll be down to Graham Holland. He'll be able to. He, as you say, maybe the best thing to do is to just concentrate on later in the year and really give him one go, because I think we all know that he has the talent there. So it's just getting it out on a consistent basis over 5 or 6 weeks
he's like a really good golfer, in a sense where he could have 12 pars, 3 birdies. The other 3 holes could be triple bogeys. You know, his record is 19, 12, 1, 0. The 1 and the 0 there are the most telling parts of that stat. Now, sorry, it's 19, 12, 2, 0. The problem is when he's found trouble, he hasn't found a way to make it through to the next round. That's why we always described him as a bit still green, waiting for the penny to drop. But there's no question that when he does things right, he's just an absolute aeroplane. Anyway, I'd say people are sick of us talking about new in session, not least the connections. We'll move on to the 9th race in the card, the 750 Ballymac Wisdom. She's just running so well. This was run in very, very tough conditions. Sporting Pat and Dana Point came out of the pack into the 5th bend, and you thought they're going to absolutely hammer up the home straight. But this lady, Ballymac Wisdom, is absolutely flying at present. This was her 3rd win on the spin over 750 yards. She really has taken to it, lads. Barry, you really impressed with her.
Yeah, without a doubt. And as you said, I thought she was in trouble there when you could see the likes of Dana Point and Sporting Pat really getting into the race. But it was a real plucky performance up front, really putting out all the stops there in the closing stages. And, a winner for favourite backers. But she's a really consistent sort at this stage now, isn't she?
She sure is. It was a race at 70 slow. That was conservative enough, Tommy. A big run by Ballymac Wisdom. You know, going into the likes of the Corncucullen in the summer, she'll certainly be one of the leading fancies.
Probably the least complicated of the leading fancies, if you know what I mean. That she'll pop out and do it. Whereas you'll get some of them there that like Dana Point. There were about 3 or 4 points in the race where I thought Dana Point is going to go on and win this race, with position to win the race the whole lot. And then at the
she's looking more and more an ultra marathon performer rather than the 750. I thought she'd have the speed for 750. It just seems to get a bit outpaced at important stages. No question she'll be finishing fast every night.
Yeah, a little bit of tactical speed at the right positions is also important, to be able to sidestep and just to know what you're doing, sidestep a little bit of trouble. I think she would have won if she had run the last 2 bends without running into a little bit of traffic. Like, I think she might have won, but that'll be to take away from Ballymac Wisdom. You have to like the ones that just do it right. And do it right on a regular basis.
You sure do, and she did it right. Another dog that certainly did it right was Butsy's Bengal. He now has 11 wins from 17 starts for Jerry Holian and the Butsy's Bucko Syndicate. This was a red hot race. Now, obviously, 1 or 2 dogs were very badly drawn, and Run to Sea is returning after a long layoff. Ballydoyle Valor probably one's further, but Butsy's Bengal, in the worst of the conditions, just flashed out, made all. He did a 2:04 sectional from trap 3 in that sloppy ground, led comfortably into the corner from Deadly Samurai, who actually ran well in defeat. Of all the greyhounds, he was going to be least suited by the conditions, because there's no question he is a relatively short runner, but hard not to like Butsy's Bengal, Barry.
Yeah, definitely. Look, it was a race that I thought was kind of full of early pace, and whatever was going to fly from traps was certainly going to take all the beating, I should say, and the winner. Yeah, that's not the first time I've said that on this podcast, but yeah, look, he done it really well, didn't he? It was a real classy performance, and he's a greyhound that impressed below in Curraheen Park in the early round of the Laurels. He posted a really nice performance on that occasion as well. So a very talented greyhound, and another one that will certainly be winning plenty of races going forward.
Yeah, for many, many years, Tommy, as I was growing up, a dog peaked at 3 years of age. This fellow's just coming up to 3 years of age. By all accounts, seems to be running very, very well. I'd say they wish the Laurels was starting in about 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, and I think it's what I was saying earlier, but you can't do the 199s at the moment. His 204 is pretty close, but it ties in. It ties in because he did 322 last year in Cork, which is ridiculous stuff. I have seen, I think it was a 318 or 319, some one dog, which is insane. 322 is pretty much as good as you get. So he's an absolute flying trapper. But if the track was at its peak in Shelburne, where it used to be for sections, you'd be talking about that would be down on the 188s, kind of that sort of track.
Yeah,
so
it was the clover hair type.
Oh yeah, the clover hair type. Yeah, yaw dog. Yeah, and was the
it was down that world anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. But yes, I perfectly able back to its best. I say it is a dog that we'll come back to. I remember the first round of the Laurels I was very strongly fancied and didn't disappoint. Just the second night, just didn't get the run. I just got a feeling at the time too. There was a kind of a feeling that it might put in a big run and just mightn't be mature enough to do it through the competition in the Laurels last year. So maybe it'll be a different dog this year coming back.
Yeah, it sure will. No, it was a very taking display. We have touched a little bit on the final, so we're going to finish off proceedings at Shelburne Park before we take a look at the Juvenile Classic with the AAO 600, the final race on the card. Given the week that's in it, it was pretty apt that Tom O'Neill was the winner with Clona Bolt. This was an unbelievably good performance. A dog having his first look at Shelburne Park, had only 3 races in his card, had won a wide margin winner at Cork in his third start. It never figured in the early rounds of the Juvenile Classic, finding traffic on both occasions. But this was an unbelievable display, Barry. Did you keep this one in your pocket? Did you know anything about this fellow? Because it was an unbelievable run.
Well, he qualified around Youghal, and Ian, you obviously missed that.
I saw that, 2950.
Yeah. He qualified around Youghal. He was previously named Corin Rankin. He was owned and bred by Willie Kelleher. His brother, actually, Corin Derrick, is the greyhound. Himself and Tommy have been raving about here in recent months. He done 28.92. He was sold. He'll be making his debut in the UK soon. So Clona Bolt, as you said, didn't feature in the juvenile. Couple of slow starts down there, but he produced a sizzling 28.33 in Curraheen Park last week, and I thought this was an unbelievable display. He's an 82-pound dog, looks a real powerhouse. He's a real good dog, and he's inside in Rat Cool Fox early down the back straight, but he really just left him there. And I suppose he's a similar dog, really could be a similar dog to the likes of, was it Ballyhooly Henry for Tom O'Neill a couple of years ago. He won a lot of big races, and based below there in Castletown Road, Tom O'Neill is a real good trainer, no stranger to having good dogs in his care over the years, owned by Kevin O'Brien, who had the Clona Blaze dog, was it, who reached the Derby final?
He won the Easter Cup, actually.
That's right, won the Easter Cup Derby final. So look, he's a real smart greyhound, and I'm sure we'll be seeing lots more of him now going forward. And I thought it was one of the performances of the weekend for me, and a bright future ahead, and I'm sure plenty more to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Really impressive. Tommy, I dare say he mightn't wear a W on his back next time he's in Shelburne Park. He dived inwards from trap 6 and has kept a middle line throughout.
It was a remarkable performance because he was taking on, for a dog of so little experience, he was taking on dogs of real experience. Dogs that we were talking about not that long ago, who we were raving about how good a runs dogs there and the likes of that. He is, as Barry said, his brother to Corin Derrick, a dog we saw in an unraced in Cork, who took our eye out the first day when he got beaten, and he has since been sold, Ritzy Flyer. This dog beat him 5 lengths in a trial. I'm not going to say which is the better of the two, but they're both seriously good dogs. This fella, like Rat Cool Fox, is a proper greyhound.
I know. He left him standing down the back straight.
This is what amazes me. Like, Rat Cool Fox is a serious dog, and this fellow's having only his 4th ever run. Now, obviously, a concern about whether he'll have the early pace, over the 5.25, 5.50. That is obviously a concern. But he is going back to the Kirby, which is something, because
I was going to ask you that question. Would you bring him to the Kirby, or would you leave him in Shelburne for the 600?
I wouldn't go 600, and I tell you why. I just think he's a young enough dog. He's January, right? He's inexperienced. I just don't like pitching him in that hard, that many weeks in a row. I just don't like it. I think if he goes in against he might get away with a bit more, might learn a bit more going to the Kirby. I prefer to go that direction personally. It's just for an education wise. He might have a chance in the 600. It'll be tougher than the other night, but he's a serious talent. Wow, I was seriously taken with him.
Yeah, clone a Bull to dog to look ahead to, or remember the name, as they say. The fact that he's owned by Kevin O'Brien suggests he'll be going nowhere. We'll be seeing plenty of him in Ireland in the coming weeks and months. And we're going to look at now the final of the Juvenile Classic down at Tralee. And, we knew it was going to be a red hot final. But like the Easter Cup, it was over pretty early, lads. 2 and 3, the two early pacers, Jacob Tashlek and Zoom. They didn't miss the kick per se. They just didn't quite get the flyer. But Sing-Along Sally took an absolute rocket from 4, cut across them, got to the fence. And once she got onto the rail, there wasn't a Greyhound. Well, certainly running around Tralee in recent weeks that was going to pick her up. It was a pretty professional display. It was very similar to her kennel companion in Dublin, Barry. Just all about that initial acceleration, getting to the fence. And as we've known from the past, she's loads of pace. She's a daughter Juby Smasher. She gets right to the line. So, nothing more to say except they're just really impressive.
Yeah, never, ever any doubt once she got to the front. I thought she might have to maybe get first run in the likes of Swords, Maestro and the Ballymac dog in one and just track the early pace maybe around the opening corners, because we were expecting Zoom and Neelis O'Connell's dog there, Jacob. Yeah, to turn in front. But look, that didn't happen. It just absolutely bolted from traps on the fence. And the game was over, and another big race success for the Buckleys, and of course the Ballymac Belvolt dog running a cracker in trap number 1 in second, and he's another dog that we'll be seeing plenty more about. But it's always an unbelievable competition, sponsored once again by the Greyhound and Pet World, and we're already seeing Greyhounds that didn't get to the final or were knocked out early. They've been coming out and doing huge runs, so we'll be seeing more of that going forward. But top class display from the winner.
Yeah, Barry's after nailing it on the head there, Tommy. We're after seeing dogs that went out in the early rounds producing big runs already. That's going to be an ongoing theme for the next few weeks, I would imagine. There was unbelievable talent in this competition, and in the end, probably had the right winner. She ran her race every single night. She set the standard in the opening round. She did what was needed in the final. She's a real class act.
Yeah, she definitely is. Again, Pat Buckley having them spot on for the night. She just pinged out, and the race was over. Now, there were a couple of points during the race that that you look in behind you. These are fast finishers, and they're in behind, and you just see what happens. Ballymac Belvolt is a talent.
They'd barely crossed the line, and you text me going, "How fast is Ballymac Belvolt?"
And unbelievable pace. And Zafiro is a dog that I don't think was at all suited. I feel it's a dog that's just going to come out someday and do this most ridiculous time somewhere.
It'll be Shelburne Park. I think it'll be Shelburne Park.
Probably Shelburne Park, but I know he got passed late and all that the other night and things like that, and you kind of might come away disappointed with it. But it is what we talked about a couple of weeks ago. It is a track where you're going to learn plenty, and that's key. That's key. Only one dog can win, or one bitch can win the Greyhound and Power Juvenile. It's always going to be that way, in the sense that you're going to have an awful lot of really good dogs every year, and only one will come out with the winner, but an awful lot of them will come out educated from Tralee, and that's a great thing about that track, and that's why it's so important. The smaller tracks are so important. They teach quite a lot. I just felt looking at a lot, and even Ballymac Belvolt finishing second the other night, I just thought there was times where you think it's just going to explode here, just going to go, and he just couldn't. It's just a matter of just gradually picking up his education. He's another dog that's going to do it. He's always going to have to do it from behind. I think Zafiro might find a little bit more early pace in him. He missed it completely the other night and got trouble. Swords Maestro ran into trouble a couple of times, and Zoom and Jacob Tashlek were beaten when they weren't able to lead early. So I'd have a lot of time for all of them in that race, but I wouldn't just be looking to the final. I'd be looking back to semi-finals in the first and second round to find dogs that I'd be following for the year. It was as good a competition as it has been for years. It really was. It was on a par with previous years, I think.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely. I think you're spot on there. As I used the term, Aidan O'Brien 3 weeks before the Epsom Derby, if he has 12 runners, people go, "Oh, sure, they can't all be good." Well, they can. We've seen it in the past, and it's that sort of competition where from start to finish there was unbelievable runs from dogs that are gone. They're out of it 2 or 3 weeks ago. Tommy suggested there, Barry, about the education that these dogs are getting, and that's it's a big thing for it's a big thing in Ireland, these unraced stakes. It's great for dogs that if they manage to stay in these competitions, they do get a wonderful education in their own company. It's something that doesn't happen in the UK, and their dogs take probably a bit more time to come to hand. Our dogs, these dogs are coming out of this competition. They're ready to go. Would it be surprised to you if any of these 6 went very well in the Kirby?
No, definitely not. Look, as you said, the unraced stakes here, the real good ones here in the country, they take some winning, and you need a bit of luck as well along the way, because you have dogs there that are going to go out and do 28-20 and 28-30. They're just unbelievable events. And as I said, look, they take so much winning, because you're going down to an event there with 24 dogs, and the 24 dogs are 48 dogs of the highest order. So look, as you said, it's a wonderful experience for them, even if you can reach the final or the semi-final. So look, I'm looking forward to following them all closely going forward, and the Kirby is going to be another serious event this year. I just don't know what's going to happen, because look, Limerick, you need to go to the bend well in Limerick, because if you're not in a prominent position going around there, you have a lot to do, and it's fairly sharp end as well there. So I think anything could win it, and the countdown is well and truly on now for it.
Yeah, it looks like being a very, very special competition. Just on Saturday night, there was 3 sensational runs at Limerick, 2 from Ballymac dogs that had come through these unraced stakes, be it Clonmel or Tralee, and a Rural Star, the dog we saw running so well in the Rural Hawaii. It stood at Clonmel unraced. He did a 28-47. Another man called Pat Buckley trialled the dog prior to racing that he thinks an awful lot of, called Barney's Road. He did 28-45. He said it to me on Saturday night, and he's since told me twice and texted me again, Barney's Road, remember the name. So it's clear he thinks a fair bit of this fellow. And of course, Sing Along Sally is still very much a likely contender, I believe. He did suggest the other night that the juvenile over in, what's the name of that track in the UK, Tommy? Ulster. That was a possible, but he's since gone. He sort of said to me on the phone, you could almost hear the cogs. He said, "Oh, Jesus, Kirby's a lot of money, isn't it?" He says, "She's a right tool. I will have a go." And he sort of there in that moment, he decided, "Sure, listen, we might go for the Kirby winner." That has yet to be seen, but it promised to be an unbelievable competition. It's a perfect sort of movement from the Easter Cup and the unraced stake down at Tralee, the Juvenile Classic, because even though the Easter Cup normally wouldn't be where you'd be looking for your Kirby Memorial contenders, Billy's Diva contested it, Ballymac Aerial contested, and those 2 are going to Tralee, or to Limerick, should I say. So lots to look forward to in the coming weeks, lads. That's it for this week. Anything else you want to add, Barry?
No, that's about it.
Who are you talking to this week?
Who am I talking to this week? A young Greyhound enthusiast, passionate.
I thought you were going to say a young Greyhound. I was going to go, geez, you're not going to get an awful lot back on the line there.
I caught up with Emma Buckley yesterday. She was on a high, and the mood on the camp is very good. In the Buckley kennels, since them big wins. So that interview is available on the Greyhound Racing Ireland website, and well worth a listen.
And who's on Thursday? Emma or?
No, Emma should be online now. Should be updated on Monday. Look, we'll hold on to Thursday. Won't be telling you that. Ian can't be giving away too much information.
Tricks of the trade, Barry. You're a good man. Keep them waiting, keep them wanting, Tommy, how about yourself? Can you give us a winner for Cheltenham?
Champagne Gold.
Champagne Gold. What's that running
in? Race during the weekend.
Champagne Gold. We'll keep an eye out for that. Listen, lads, thanks very much. It's been great as always. 2 worthy winners over the weekend, Knocked Bull Sid and Sing Along Sally. It just so happens, well, they're sharing kennels next to each other. Anyway, congratulations to the Buckley clan. They'll be hoping for more success in the coming weeks and months. And of course, we wish them the very best of luck in their endeavours. But that's it for Talking Dogs on Monday. We'll see you next time.